Technology, Government of Maharashtra. Can we have a huge round of applause, sir?
A very good morning to the esteemed panelists and ladies and gentlemen. Just a word about what Maharashtra has been doing in the field of information technology. Thereafter, I shall try and give some food for thought as far as security, big data analysis, and other items of today's discussion are concerned. Maharashtra per se has been one of the leading states when we talk about information technology initiatives. I will just cover a few of them which may be of use to the audience as well as to the government. We have majorly concentrated on building core infrastructure, resorting to some policy interventions, and we have given a big thrust on capacity building. Our e-governance initiatives, they majorly cover G2G, G2E, G2B and G2C projects. Whenever we are implementing any kind of e-governance project, gentlemen, the most important thing that is required is that we should carry out a detailed DPR or GPR. That is process reengineering. We are all aware that if you have the garbage as input, garbage shall come out. E-governance is not only carrying out BPR, but also ensuring that we are not only resorting to digitization of physical paper into electronic form. We have to simplify the processes, and we also have to take care that there are certain things that need to be eliminated. Today, we are paying much attention on e-transactions. E-TAL is one of the initiatives of Government of India wherein we are measuring that, how many e-transactions every state is doing as a measure of e-governance initiatives undertaken by that particular state. But if we ask ourselves, are these e-transactions really required? As per one small in-house study done, it was noticed that about 80% of the record of rights for various reasons are being asked by government and are being supplied by the government. Do we really need it? Is what we have to ask ourselves. Affidavits. Gentlemen, affidavits were as a source of revenue for the British government. Of course, they were asking because they did not trust Indians. But please go, get a certificate from a gazetted officer that what you are telling is the truth. It's high time that we do away with them and we trust our own citizens. Taking a lead into this, Government of Maharashtra since last year has done away with all kinds of affidavits required for certificates. And the preamble to the GO says that it's high time that we start trusting our citizens. Well, this could be emulated if required. We have created robust core infrastructure of IT. We have also declared what is our critical infrastructure so that our security policies are well in place. We have a state-of-art data center, probably the only government data center which is cloud enabled. We have also gone on to further concepts of hybrid cloud as well as cloud burst. Our data center is end-to-end IPv6 compliant and it is operating from an environment which is absolutely secure. SWAN has been covered, so I won't touch upon that. But what we today have to look after is that if we say that 65 to 70% of the Indian population resides in the villages and it's the rural infrastructure that is critical, then our connectivity has to first reach the villages. And how much of it has been done is a question which is open to all. Rather than relying on a single kind of network which reaches the masses, we have to ensure that there is a basket of networks like the basket of currencies at the international level. We have a state data portal, which is a repository of knowledge of all the initiatives taken by the state. CSCs, Maha Seva Kendras, we have about 35,000 CSCs, that is Citizen Service Centers, which we have put in place. We have put certain policy interventions as enablers. One of the critical things is that today, all our departments they have people who can guide the departments for the IT initiatives or not. It's impossible for us to give consultants to each department, to each office, to each sub-office. So we have come out with a concept of virtual IT gathering in Maharashtra, wherein the people who are IT savvy in the department, they are trained on various aspects. They are selected through a stringent procedure of having objective, subjective and interview as the examination, and thereafter these people are given quite a bit of exposure to the IT and they lead the department IT initiatives. As a matter of incentive, we give them 10% extra salary for their interventions that they are doing in the department. But other things they include that to have the procurement procedures, etc. fast track, we have cabinet subcommittees, we have high power committees and the department level purchase committees and PICs which take decisions at a very fast pace depending on their financial powers, which range from 5 crore for the PICs and above 5 crores unlimited powers are with the SPC headed by Honorable Chief Secretary. We also have entered into a joint venture partnership with TCS and we have created Maha Online, which today houses more than about 250 programmers who are busy innovating as well as creating softwares for us. Capacity buildings, we have not only concentrated on the government departments but also the vendors, consultants, citizens and the state government officials at large scale. We have carried on with extensive workshops for our flagship initiatives. We have created various centers of excellence including the local languages as well as other areas. Without taking much time on what we have done about our e-governance initiatives, let me tell you that Maharashtra is the only state which has undertaken the concept of paperless offices on the largest scale. Today we have about 10,000 employees who are actually operating e-files with digital tokens and they are signing files digitally and they are being moved. Sindhudurg is one of the districts in Maharashtra which is complete end-to-end paperless starting from Patwari to the district collector level and there is not a single paper which moves. Gentlemen, it is an island of excellence that I would request if any one of you wants, they can visit it. With this, I will just put some perspective on the security part, that how secure are we? Are we really bothered about our cyber security? Are we actually looking in depth into cyber defense, cyber forensics, cyber investigations, so on and so forth? With the increasing use of technology, with the kind of data that is today available and the ever-increasing demand of use of technology, we have to ensure that we are secure. But today, I am going to throw open a few questions as well as I'll give you some food for thought that how secure are we in this dense data environment. Maybe it will not be in the order of precedence or order of importance, but shall we have a look at the increasing net banking and ATM frauds which are on the rise? Are we secure enough as far as our proneness to the financial crimes are concerned? Our ATM frauds are on the increase. When we approach the investigating agencies, you will know for better that we are actually going round in circles achieving nothing. Are we actually clueful enough how to deal with these challenges is what we have to think. ATM security, many a times challenges have been thrown. How secure our ATM networks are. We say that install CCTV cameras, but do we have the wherewithal to analyze the data? There is absolutely no semblance of any data analysis that can be done, whether you are entering an ATM with a helmet or your face covered with some clothes. Are we analyzing it? Do we have some differential patterns that can be worked out and an alarm be generated? Sadly, it is not there. When we talk about big data analytics, data does not only involve citizen data, it involves geospatial data also, it includes satellite data also, it includes all kind of banking, mobile, ATM data also. So we have to think on these lines that are we actually doing data analysis that can be fruitful and it can give fruits to the citizens of the real IT interventions. Bankers and cybersecurity, a huge question. Today also, it will be commonplace that our banking data do not have any kind of third-party audits being carried out about the security systems that have been put in place as far as banking securities are concerned. Our security guidelines are pretty hazy, and the bankers who are there in the audience would agree to it. We rarely undertake any kind of non-disclosure agreements with the National Payment Corporation of India or the banks. We can go on and on, but as I said that I will just throw open few questions to the audience as well as the esteemed panelists that how secure are we? Getting a duplicate SIM card, how difficult is it? You can actually go to a vendor, say that I have lost my SIM card, give forged documents, and you can obtain a duplicate SIM card, and you can throw open somebody's absolutely critical data to anybody's uses. Do we have enough control over our cyber cafes? Do we have enough control over our networks which are open? Has anybody ever thought of checking the server logs of telecommunication companies for phone tapping? Are you absolutely safe as far as data is concerned when you say that you are conversing with somebody and that is not being tapped? Has anybody bothered to check it? Sadly enough, no. Yes, we do believe you, but then we have to have systems in places about the phone tapping, about the CDRs and checking the server logs of these telecommunication companies so that somebody is watching over us is drilled well and proper. Our password policies, absolutely weak. Passwords are being, many of the cases which have come forth, we are using text-based data to store our passwords. There is absolutely no encryption, hashing or salting being done. Majority of our offices, when we say capacity building, today, ask an honest question to yourself. How many times have you shared your password of critical data with your subordinates who are not supposed to know it? How many times have you shared the password of your mail IDs with your subordinates? It is sad that at times we have come across cases in various areas where people have even shared not only the passwords but the PIN, which is supposed to be the second or third level of security with their subordinates. Digital signatures, in our case, are they safe enough? That is what we have to ask ourselves. Critical internet infrastructure, where is it operating from? Who is operating it? Who has the data access? It's high time. The .in domain, where is it being run? Where is the data warehouse is open to questions. Why I am raising these questions is, gentlemen, that today India perhaps has the largest force as far as IT is concerned. We are assisting countries across the globe in developing systems that are secure, but are we actually doing it in our own country? Today we are increasing our infrastructure in various aspects as far as IT is concerned. We are buying a lot of equipment. We are also putting in place our data centers. We are also putting in place the concepts like cloud and all. But how and what kind of encouragement is being given to IT in various states is a question to be asked. In various discussions, it has come to fore and to our knowledge that our data centers often the private data centers, they die their own deaths because of small reasons like heavy electricity tariff. It is very difficult to operate data centers today, and people who are in it, they know it well enough. So if we have to ensure that we have good data centers which are within the geographical boundaries and our data can be actually kept within the geographical boundaries of India, then we have to come out with certain incentive policies that can actually allow these private players in collaboration with government to come up with safe data centers. Now, as far as using technology, available open source technology is concerned, it is surprising that we use Google Maps for a lot of our activities, even police investigations. How safe is it to use it? Has anybody given a thought to it? Training. At times, we say that our people are cyber trained. NASCOM and DSCI are giving training to our policemen. But how effective the training is? Or are we just creating a force which is not very well trained yet certified trained, is what we have to look into. So there are many questions that we have to ask ourselves. The quality, the quantity, the numbers of our cyber forensic labs, are they equipped enough to analyze any kind of cyber fraud? There are a whole lot of other questions that can be raised on this subject. But today, as industry, as government, as the stakeholders, we have to join hands to ensure that our security policies are well in place. Because today we are a huge developing IT destination in the world. And if we do not pay attention to this, things can be pretty difficult, gentlemen. Yes, data analysis and networking and all, other speakers have covered. These are important. If we analyze our data, you would be surprised to know that one of the weakest database we have is the BPL database. Our databases do not communicate with each other. They do not talk to each other. Have we ever thought to compare or make our BPL database talk with our electricity consumers, billing and all? If you do, it will be surprising that it will give you a big joy. Many people who are using good amount of electricity can be actually measured as a standard of living. We are not doing it. It's high time that when we are doing the data analysis, our databases should talk to each other. We have to clean up our databases, we have to make them usable databases, and we have to ensure that they talk to each other. Then only we will have the benefits really flowing in to the people who really deserve it. So in fact, when we are talking about cyber security, big data analytics, networking, etc., we have to ask ourselves very, very critical questions. And it is high time that we are honest with ourselves. Even the purchase of infrastructure, computer-related peripherals and all, you would be surprised that many a times the refurbished switches, routers are being put in by many of the vendors. I'm not blaming anyone, but do we have a system in place to check it? Do we really have a system to check it that whatever kind of warranty or guarantee has been given to a particular kind of infrastructure, it really exists? Have we checked with OEM regarding the things which are being installed? Gentlemen, questions are huge. But I would request the industry as well as other people who are real stakeholders in the benefits that flow out of IT to understand this, to talk very honestly and plug these gaps, and then we can say that we will be secure in the times to come. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk to you.